Welcome to another edition of On My Couch. So today we're exploring what it takes to build a truly premium experience in a regional location. So slightly different. Our guest, is Claire Gems, founder and co-owner of Lon Retreat. So one of Australia's most unique and highly regarded luxury retreats. So welcome, Claire. I'll introduce you a little bit more and then get you to add to that. Claire's journey is fascinating, career in accounting to creating a five-star experience on the Bellarine Peninsula. So keen to hear a little bit more about that. And we're going to focus in this conversation about, building a standout brand in a crowded market. How do you create something special outside of a, capital city and also that the whole career transition piece as well. So welcome, Claire.
Thank you, Damien
Right.
and Sue. I'm very excited to be here and talk more about brand and
Yep.
brand strategy and building a brand, which of course I could talk about all day, but I'll take.
Excellent. Excellent. That's what we want. Introductions. My name's Damien. I'm the founder of OMC Group, and what we do at OMC Group is we work with people. We work with people to help them be better together to achieve optimum performance, to achieve what's actually possible. So we do leadership development and culture and people strategy, that type of work. But the outcome is also it was always about performance. My co-host is Sue. Sue, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Dave. So, yes, I've had a 30 plus year retail property and marketing career, and now I'm currently working with some great companies and not for profits as a board director and as a consultant. And Damien, you had me at luxury, you had me at retreat, and you had me at brand. So I'm really keen to talk about the discussion today
Right.
because they're my three really favourite words.
Very good. I suspect I may not be asking many questions. I might just sneak into the background here and let you two have a discussion. Anyhow, what is on my couch? Sue and I, we've been doing this for a number of years now, and really it started because we wanted to, meet interesting people, learn about different topics, maybe build on the knowledge that we already have. And sometimes it's about actually learning about something that we don't necessarily know. But so fundamentally, it's a conversation with really clever people and learn more about the great stuff that they do. Claire, welcome once again, and maybe before we get into the themes, maybe set the scene about Lon Retreat. So paint a you've got Sue at luxury and retreat. So maybe paint a bit of a picture about if we went to Lon Retreat, what might we see or what might we experience?
Yeah, definitely. So Lon Retreat is set on 250 acres of rural and conservation land by the ocean in a place called Point Lonsdale, which we're
Hmm.
located on the Bellarine Peninsula down here on the beautiful Victorian coastline. About
Hmm.
a 90-minute drive from Melbourne, which is important for context as we start talking about what the term regional means.
Yes.
Um, so this parcel of land, this farmland has been in my family for 7 generations. So since
Wow.
the sort of mid 1800s. It has natural mineral springs that run in the limestone caves beneath it that were actually piped around the farm, hand dug and piped around the farm to feed the cattle traditionally
Serious.
100 years ago.
Luxury cattle.
Luxury cattle with great skin.
Yeah.
So that was sort of the background. There's been many houses over the time on that property, and basically including my parents and brother and sister who lived there. And back in about 2000 and I'll say 10,
Hmm.
the concept sort of was to build the retreat using my mum and dad's house that had got too big for them. We'd all grown older, and to transport this sandstone building
Hmm.
into effectively a retreat, so a home hotel. So as it stands today, the product we have 7 suites. So
Hmm.
we're a luxury five-star retreat, part of the small luxury hotels of the world brand.
Hmm.
Those 7 suites can house, we're adult exclusive, so 16 adults can stay at any one time with us.
Hmm.
And we also have an award-winning spa, Lon Spa, which has 3 treatment rooms. It also has saunas, steam rooms. We have the natural mineral springs that run through to the heated mineral pools. We have
Hmm.
contrast therapy spaces with outdoor Finnish saunas, Swedish soak buckets, magnesium plunge pools. We also have an art gallery space and a shop. Plus, of course, those 250 acres of conservation land have beautiful walking paths. We have direct beach access. The beach is only a couple of 100 meters away. So really, we're about our guests coming and connecting back to nature, to themselves, to each other. And our essence is really about beautiful simplicity, just slowing down. And of course, our catch cry is time to slow down, which has been very
Mm.
effective over that since we opened back in October 2018.
Oh, fantastic! That's great. Okay, well, don't worry about talking anymore. We'll just
Done.
bed
So over
down.
to
Yeah.
you.
Yes. Sue, do
So
you want to start?
Yeah, so Claire, that's a great overview, and needed to get another laptop now and start Googling and booking when I can come. So that sounds amazing. But
Mm.
just if we just step back, just talk to us about your career journey, because as I understand it, you've not had the traditional hospitality path. So where did you start, and how did you get here? I suppose to Lawn Retreat.
yeah, yeah. So going back into the archives, I
Mm.
I studied a Bachelor of Commerce here at Deakin in Geelong, did commerce law, and then moved up to Melbourne and worked in chartered accounting at a firm called Pitcher Partners. So I got up to senior accountant there, up to there, and whilst it was great and enjoyed it, I wanted to go out on my own and explore some different things. So going from there, I did a master's in marketing and then went from there into some different fields. So I actually worked in sports for a while. So I started a business consultancy that then contracted out. So before that, I was at the Royal Melbourne Golf Club and the Heritage Golf and Country Club. So I worked in golf for a while, doing corporate events, visitor relations. Anyone that came on the course went by me. So I did work in golf for quite some time, actually
Hmm.
whilst I was studying. And then, yeah, started my own consultancy, which was basically based around putting business plans in place within businesses and using that both accounting and marketing background to sort of merge in to help them put together a business plan. And then I would work with other consultants to get that expertise, whether it be IT or advertising in when I needed. So I would have done that for a good decade, I think. And whilst doing that, my parents ran a bed and breakfast called Lonsdale Views, which they ran on the farm while they were living on the farm. And I managed that remotely. And the reason behind that was to get sort of a bit of a feel for the Bellarine Peninsula and sort of a feel for I would attend I would attend for a decade, just tourism events, any events. I sort of would use that little business to be able to get in the door to just really do a bit of intel about where the Victorian tourism industry was at, where the Bellarine Peninsula was at compared to Mornington Peninsula in terms of being able to um, have a luxury product of the type that I was thinking that
Hmm.
could work down at in Point Lonsdale. Basically, if they were ready for it. And then going from that, then eventually moved down from Melbourne with my husband Rob, and we had a 1-year-old at the time. Moved down to Point Lonsdale, and then started working on the concept of Lawn Retreat. So, so yeah, so not a traditional path, and my background in hospitality is basically waitering tables. Would be to make money during uni would be my hospitality experience, and my tourism experience came by through my business consultancy. I actually made and intentionally started building clients from both Geelong and the Bellarine Peninsula that were within that industry. So I could go on the inside. I do business mediation, business planning. And so I'd actually get to see from the inside how these businesses worked. I also had some clients at Pitcher Partners that were also from that industry. So I suppose I learned from the outside. And then with spa and wellness, my background with spa and wellness is basically reaching burnout and needing the wellness industry. So I came from the client background of what I needed and
Yep.
then surrounded myself with amazing people like my spa manager Jade, who had naturopath remedial massage backgrounds and started once again going and attending event after event and networking, so much networking to build my knowledge in that area from the other point of view. So, yeah, my background is not in hospitality or in tourism or wellness, but I have a strong business and marketing background that sort of brings it together
Mm.
once I then source the people who had expertise in those areas as well. It's just, once again, it takes a village. So, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So what was the defining moment? Because it sounds like you had a great career. You could have stayed in Melbourne, still done all of your consulting, still had a great business career and family situation. So what was the defining moment? When did you go, actually, Rob, we're packing up, we're moving, and this is what we're going to do?
A couple of catalysts for the change. Probably in terms of Melbourne, by the time we got to our late 20s and had our daughter Amelia, sort of what Melbourne was to us had changed, how we were relating to Melbourne. And in the corporate lifestyle, um, I was reaching a point of burnout and my nervous system was suffering as a result, which is a common story that's sort of talked about these days in terms of the wellness industry. But the term wellness and that sort of real um, push of it as a movement really only came about sort of from 2010s onwards with Instagram coming into play. So back when I was in corporate, that wasn't even the term burnout or nervous system. I had no knowledge of all this. All I knew is that it wasn't good for my health and my system. And then
Mhm.
having a baby, I just wanted to get back out into the regions and just find some space. And so I was also very motivated by the idea of I'd always wanted to have a go at running my own business, having consulted to other businesses for a while. But I was also aware that the most successful businesses that I saw always were trying to solve a problem that they were familiar with themselves.
Mhm.
And in a way, I was my own target market, which I
Mm.
think is a distinct competitive advantage when you're building a business. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, plus as well, of course, the larger factor is there was this beautiful parcel of land that my family had, and farming and rural pursuits that had happened over the centuries couldn't happen on that land in the way that they could back then. And so it was also the motivation was, okay, we have this piece of land, we have this building, we need to provide a sustainable income for the farm and for the family. And do I have any ideas to do
Mhm.
that? And so I suppose out of those sorts of problems come ideas and
Yeah.
then it starts rolling. And so, yeah, I think it came initially from a problem I had and something that I was seeking in the marketplace that wasn't there that I saw also in Europe. Europe has had at the time a lot more sort of home hotels and sort of some wellness experiences, whereas Australia's tourism and hotel industry at the time, um, very much cookie cutter hotel. You either had a hotel or a traditional little bed and breakfast.
Mhm.
Airbnb wasn't on the scene, so you rented holiday homes. Spas were just something that you went and got like a pretty simple massage or facial at. They weren't really related and in hotels as such, or if they were more an afterthought, not something that was front and center of within the brand. So it was a very different scene. And so I kept looking for what I was wanting during burnout, and I had money. I was wanting luxury and high end, but I was wanting something that also filled my cup, and I couldn't find that. So a gap in the market just meant, yeah, I just started digging.
Great. And then maybe we sort of continue on and start talking about sort of that brand and it's interesting. I was going to ask you about how do you build a brand in a crowded marketplace, but based on what you've just said, you're sort of
Mm.
saying, well, actually, you know what, it wasn't that there was certainly as a crowded marketplace, but it was a different
Oh,
different marketplaces. So maybe it's sort of say, how did you? Maybe the question is, how did you think about positioning Lon Retreat early on? Given what you've just talked about, that the positioning piece. How did you? Because I would imagine there's a little bit of an education process that had to go along as well.
yes, very much so. So it's always a compliment when someone says crowded marketplace to me because I'm like, yes, that means that we were like ahead of the wave because crowded now is like a compliment to me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when I see other brands in the marketplace sort of using similar terminology, like people like that's a compliment that we
Yeah.
were sort of ahead of that. And of course, we didn't know COVID was going to happen as well, which of course was that sort of second wave of bringing wellness to the forefront. But
That's a good point. Yeah.
it's so funny. So I did actually do a little bit of like went through my files a bit and I did actually find. So when we talk about brand and people
Yeah.
developing brand, and you'll love this too, I actually found our initial like branding strategy, which is like a big document, our initial creative brief. And I was
Wow.
like, so let me look back and just see whether it's still like on point because I'm
Yeah.
say like they call me the brand Nazi. So I literally so this is what so I don't this might go does this go back to front? It probably does maybe. Can you
That,
see that?
yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
can't read it, but I can see
can't
it.
read it. So
Yeah.
basically it said this was back in 2000, this was written in 2016.
Yeah.
So our purpose was to exist to reconnect you to the beauty of slow and simple.
Mm.
And the branding reflects the reason to believe Lon, disconnecting from the business of life and reconnecting with the beautiful experiences that can be found in slowing down and keeping things simple,
Mm.
which is exactly what we do today. And
Yeah.
that's actually on our wall in our business for people
Yeah.
to, for any staff that walk in, they get a copy of that. And the other thing I wanted to show you, which you won't be able to read, but just so you get in the picture so you can see the people. Can you see those people?
Yes.
Right? Okay. That's Sophie and Mark. So Sophie and Mark have followed us throughout the journey because Sophie and Mark are 42 and 43 and they live in Armidale. And
Yeah.
that's their entire profile of who they are, what they seek, what they want.
Yeah.
This is also on the wall. Was on the wall in big writing for a while at Lon. We were like, never forget about Sophie and Mark and the headspace they're in when they call, when they ring. And this was like describing sort of me at the time,
Yeah.
reside in metropolitan Melbourne, high level household income, both work professional roles, and find their lives to be extremely busy between work, socializing, family time, home maintenance, and exercise. Lives increasingly filled with technology, and this was 2016. So you
Yeah.
imagine what that looks like. But seeking something more authentic and meaningful to appeal to their need for self-actualization, which can also slip back to the need for self-esteem. I value and seek authenticity and benefits of a simpler life, but in reality, I would never give up the life I have worked so hard to build for myself.
Mm.
Okay? So we really went deep at the time to
Yeah.
really understanding the people that we were going to be speaking to and why we were speaking to them. And at the
Yeah.
time, it wasn't a crowded marketplace. It was also, in a way, an uneducated marketplace in
Mm.
terms of wellness. So people were like, you either went to a bougie luxe hotel,
Yeah.
lots of food, lots of wine,
Mm.
or you went to somewhere like Gwingana for a health retreat
Yeah.
or a boot camp. There
Yeah.
wasn't that in between
Yeah.
space. We could just go for a couple of days and stop. And that idea of slowing down, we'd really been, especially late 90s, early 2000s, in this world of speeding up and tech,
Mm.
we're really onto that. So that real
Mm.
sort of technology burnout was only just as well on the cards.
Mm. Mm.
Whereas now, of course, it's everywhere. That idea of disconnecting. I
Yeah.
remember bringing up the term disconnecting, and they were like that was just why would you want to disconnect? Um, so I think that it wasn't a crowded market, but it was a market that had some misconceptions concerning the idea of wellness and it being potentially a bit woo-woo for me from my corporate background to do. So we did have to be really understanding who that person was, who
Yeah.
Sophie and Mark were sitting in Armidale,
Yeah.
and why they would bother instead of potentially getting on a plane. Why would they drive 90 minutes
Mm.
to a place they'd never heard of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. One last question from me, sir, and then I'll hand over to you.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned, I mean, that's great that you got the artifact. So that you and
Yeah.
it's but based on the introduction and what you just talked about. You've been consistent, that brand has been consistent all the way through.
Yep.
Is there anything that's evolved, from a brand perspective, or is it that brand? Is it more about the products and the services, i.e., the sort of the outside space?
Yeah, so still love this. So I read a lot of the Simon Sinek things about the why. So
Yes,
the
great.
core of the why has
Yep,
not changed and it stayed solid.
yep,
So those core values and
yep,
reasons for us existing
yep,
have not changed, and we are always accountable to those
yep,
in every decision surrounding the business. And that is all our staff are aware of that as well in a really clear way, our purpose.
yep,
The ways that we communicate that
yep,
changed over time. The But I would say if we look at brand, and when you go to brand, you'll sort of go out to like, what's your tone of language? What's your, like, all these things emanate from that brand.
yep.
That hasn't really changed. And I think there is power in that.
Hmm.
There's power in that because, yes, you can still adjust your products or services and stuff and work a little bit with those trends. But what what happens if you're a brand that the marketplace identifies that really knows who you are and why you are doing what you're doing and does not waver?
Yep,
That builds incredible trust. That builds incredible loyalty and return guests.
yep,
That is something that, especially in a world that had COVID hit it,
yep,
that reliability of going, oh, this is what I get at Lon. This is the feeling Lon will give me. It may be a different treatment from
yep.
last time. It may be that the event I'm going to, I haven't gone before, but that same feeling and that same message emanates through whether it was 7 years ago or whether it is today.
Love it.
Yeah.
So that persona that you created for the couple in Melbourne, how do they actually know that Lon existed? So there's one thing to create the persona and understand your target audience, but how does the target audience know where you are, what you offer? And again, being in a regional location, does that add another layer of complexity to that? How to reach your target audience?
Yeah. So up front, I will say it's an advantage being within a 90-minute window. So when we talk
Hmm.
about regional Victoria, especially within a tourism context, um, there's regional, but then there's regional. They
Mm.
call it sort of that 2 hour kilometre radius of Melbourne. If you're within that, it's a hell of a lot easier to market to than further out because
Yeah,
you are doing that Friday night, I can finish work and get there element. But yes, the challenge was we were very, very small, little to no budget. Like the budget and the whole marketing and advertising and PR department was me. So, and we had a mortgage on our house. So didn't have anything to work with. So a couple of key things to get to Sophie and Mark. So, what does Sophie and Mark look at, read, absorb, and how do I get in it? And so, what one of the key things that we did, apart from all this networking, led to about 6 months out from launch, me contacting basically everybody I had networked with. And working out ways that they could help or we could collaborate or we could work on. The couple of key things. Firstly, was in that 2 week lead up to us opening, we hosted so many journalists and so many families,
right.
so many free products. So we had journalists from all of the national newspapers, Gourmet Traveller, Australian Financial Review, Qantas Magazine, all of those people stay with us. And we hosted them for 24 hours for an experience, which
Wow.
meant for that following 6 to 12 months, Lon was featured in all of those publications,
Hmm.
not only because of the familiar we featured, but our major investment was in quality photography. So my friend Nicole Ramsey is a fantastic photographer. And so I said, right, I just want, if I get a portfolio of beautiful photography and shots. When I do these for meals, those journalists are receiving everything, and if I make it easy for them and make them look good, they're
Mhm.
going to make me look good. This is a
Mm.
symbiotic relationship. This is a two-way relationship. And so that's what we did. And we got front covers. We got
Wow.
we got a lot, and that was purely because we had hosted them. They had got all the content they wanted. I had then that day sent them a Dropbox that had all those beautiful high-res images, plus a summary and synopsis of what I'd spoken to them about. So I made their job easy,
Mm.
them, but it made them look good.
Yeah.
So that was a key thing. The another thing was collaborations from the offset. Everything that we put into lawn furniture wise or interior wise. I worked with my good friend Pip Tribe, who is fantastic at interior design. I basically tagged every single product in every photo. So if I posted a photo on Instagram, and back then this used to work a lot better than it does today with the algorithm, but I would post a picture, one of these beautiful Nicole Ramsey pictures. I would tag every single bit of furniture, linen, everything to the brand. What
Right.
they would naturally do then is
Yeah.
repost it because they
Yeah.
like the beautiful picture. They
Mm.
would, and so all of a sudden, I was getting building following, getting people to suddenly go, oh, we're going to get featured in that. We'd love to use your photo. Are you happy if we refer and put a paragraph in? So I had these natural collaborations and partnerships happening that all still with those a lot of those journalists and with a lot of those brands still exist to this
Mhm.
day. So I would say that in the forefront, Sophie and Mark love to shop. They love interiors. They love furnishings. They love to know where did you get this from. Sophie and Mark love to look in Gourmet Traveller or look at the time at Qantas magazine as they fly.
Mhm.
So that's how I got into Sophie and Mark's world. And all I needed is a few Sophie and Marks to start following our page on Instagram. And then I could start, running tag and like competitions. I could
Mhm.
start, getting them, and then you start getting the spiral effect to build up a following of Sophie and Marks.
Great.
Yeah, there you go. There's a
Love
secret recipe.
it. That's good.
How do you sort of again maintain that consistency? So I'm guessing when you have all those familials and you have those journalists come out, you've set the height bar at a certain level. How then? What's your secret to maintaining the height bar or pushing it even higher?
Yeah. So you do need, so whilst that why and purpose stays consistent in everything you do need to freshen up what you're putting to market.
Mhm.
So it's a fine line between staying consistent and reliable and having that story thread through, but also providing, for example, journalists, they want new content, they want something new, they
Yeah.
want fresh. So we will like annually have photo shoots with fresh content. We always think of new stories and things to put on our blog regularly. We will have new product like our contrast therapy space that we launched late last year, which is new. For example, all those journalists get a new set of photography, a new
Mhm.
story, something new we've launched. I invite more of them down to stay. So you are keeping relevant. I'm also so I keep an eye on trends, but I don't let those trends define where I go. But I ride the wave of a trend if it works with our purpose, brand, and story.
Mhm.
So, with contrast therapy space, for example, Sophie and Mark, if we go back to Sophie and Mark were seeking that, right? Sophie and Mark wanted that. So, how can we do it? But how can we do it the long way?
Mhm.
How can we do it so it's not just something plonked there? How can we go, hey, sit in your plunge pool and look at the cows? How can we make it that it's a rural experience? So the soak bucket looks like a milk bucket that's come straight off the farm. How
Mm.
can we make it aesthetically look like that? Have that beautiful photography done and then tell a story that is just a natural extension of what Lon's always been as though it's always been there, whilst riding a current trend and wave. So
Yeah.
there's sort of once again, it's it works in terms of having new content, but an extension of what's already there. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe if we can build on that then in terms of quality, but we shift the focus then to leadership and culture and people, right? Because you sort of alluded to that as well. I mean, how have you, as a business grown, how have you approached building your team and culture? And then the second part of that question, what behaviours or values are non-negotiable for you?
Yeah. Um, it's been it's always really interesting in terms of being a leader and that, especially when it's something that you've created yourself. And Rob and I have both, worked really well together with our strengths inside it.
Hmm.
It's a lot more practical than me, and he deals with a lot more of the operations, whereas I'm sort of that creative concept, strategic side of things. But yeah, we have a team of 30, and that team has pretty much over the years, a lot of them we haven't had a lot of staff turnover at all. A lot of the original members are still with us. So how do we maintain that? Well, I think it's really difficult, especially in a if we look at a regional setting, small town, where really large community focus.
Yeah.
Boundaries are really interesting in setting within the context of that,
Hmm.
because we are a family business and many of our staff feel like the place is a family to them. But also, how do we, as leaders, create those boundaries so that we can still make the hard decisions when we can, stay focused on what the business needs from a long-term point of view. And also, probably one of the largest challenges I've found is just delegation and knowing
Right.
when to delegate.
Is
Because
that because you?
ironically, I can get burnt out
Yeah.
whilst running my slow down business.
And is that because what clearly comes through is your passion? Is that because it's hard to let go because it's like
Oh,
this is
it's so hard
yeah.
because as owners of a business that you've created from the ground up and put so much work into it, so much work even before the doors open. I mean, I remember I got a migraine on our opening night because just by the time you open the doors, you're exhausted. So much work. I mean, we were
Yeah.
involved in the construction at a hands-on level. We didn't have them like I hand sketched with a pencil all the joinery. Like we were hands-on
Wow.
doing it all. So we were so exhausted. So by the time it opened, so when you come from that background, then the reality, and I've spoken to other mentors about this, the reality that no one is going to do it in the same way you do.
Mm.
And also, everybody's preference is to have the owner and founder doing it. So no
Mhm.
one's going to be happy if you don't do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're going to, but you need to hand over. And I think I've always been sort of good at listening and taking feedback. I love getting ideas off other people, but just to do that delegation enough that, you realize that it's not going to be. I find the biggest challenge is handing over, and maybe things aren't done the way you would have done, and maybe they're not as, successful as you would have done.
Hmm.
But you just need to accept that because really, I have to take some of my own medicine in terms of what I used to say to clients, which is, a successful business is one that you have been able to successfully step back from
Mm.
as owner, creator, and founder. And I
Yeah.
find that that is actually yeah, it's hard because it is, you put so much blood, sweat, and tears in it.
Mm.
It's really difficult to just let the errors and mistakes happen, let people learn on the job, actually just not just for a while, I just jumped in and fixed everything behind the
Gotcha.
scenes, right?
Yeah.
Very difficult not to do that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I just want to check in on you. Were you triggered then? Because I know you used to do shopping centre openings, and if I can remember you talking about working nearly 24 hours a
Oh,
day, and the opening was sort of was that triggering when Claire was talking about having a migraine on opening day?
Absolutely. And in fact, what I was thinking about is I read something yesterday that the people looking to buy businesses, and one of the questions they ask is, can the owners take 3 days off in a row? And if the owner can't take 3 days off in a row, they're not buying a business, they're buying a job. And when you were describing that, then I thought, oh, that's going to be my next question. How many days off can you take in a row in terms of perhaps one of the lessons that you've learned over the journey that you've been on?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's really interesting. I think the tricky part with all this is where COVID hit our business. So we'd been open 18 months when COVID hit, and we were then forcibly closed for 18 months. And so with the life cycle of a business, you can imagine I had 7 years worth of budgets and projections. This is going to be here, then, I had it all planned, right? And this really, yeah, had a big effect. And what that meant is it sort of extended that projection of how long it would take Rob and I to be a bit more hands off. Because when we reopened, the business needed us more than ever to just dig deep
Mm.
for that. I mean, that first 18 months after opening was just 100% capacity, just getting absolutely slammed. So, I mean, we got to a point where we were like a day off pausing our gift voucher purchases. Like nobody else can buy gift vouchers because we had enough that we were going to go for years and years and years. Like people couldn't get in. So I think what that meant is that all of a sudden, it's really only been the past 12 months that sort of a little bit of normality has started coming back into play, where we've even been able to start thinking about what we want to do or what those next steps would be, and also creating some boundaries and some time off. And I think that in terms of time off, ever since we've opened, we've closed. I think since reopening after COVID, the first year we were closed Christmas Day and Boxing Day. The next year we were closed the 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th. The next year, I think, and then just last year we were closed 4 days. So we keep creeping an extra day. But also we are really making ourselves a lot more accountable to be going, hey, we're not available, putting things in place and actually switching off the phone to the disasters and just going, you know what? We'll deal with it when we get back because we actually are better bosses if we have that time off and refresh. Because what happens is all of your staff and your team take the holidays and you end up not doing it and you just get resentful. So I think, yeah, I have found it. Once again, I can get really harsh on myself of the hypocrisy of the fact that I run something encouraging people to slow down and take time off when I find it really challenging myself. And so, yeah, it's been about going to places that can fill my cup similar to Lon because I can't. It's so funny. People think that I would have spa treatments all the time because I own a spa. And I'm just like, well, it is my workplace. So, yes, treatments are incredible, but I still have my work put on, like I think so. No, I do like going somewhere else where I can just completely switch off, anonymous, and I can just find some time for me. But that is a work in progress too, to be honest, because I it's a work in progress to also switch off just my creative strategic, like I'm always thinking of the next thing and the bigger thing, and just to take a pause and I go, yeah, but are you willing to do the work and implement that right now? Like where are your energy levels? And just coming back to that, because yeah, I mean I'm 47 now, so I think my energy levels are different to what they were back when I was 30 thinking up all of this. So yeah.
But that's the entrepreneurial's curse in a way, but it's a double edged because it's a challenge. It's a you can beat yourself up, I think was the word that you used, but at the same time, it's your business, it's your baby, it's your passion, and therefore, and I think you said, there are some things that only you can do, or that that you want, and it's about living your vision and your values and your purpose and your why. So yeah, I wouldn't beat yourself up too much.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's probably what all entrepreneurs and business people go through, which is a quality that most employers of large organizations, when Damien referred to me working for 24 hours, if you could find what entrepreneurs and the passion and the commitment they have, I'm sure there would be lots of larger businesses going, yeah, we would do things, so much better if we could capture that as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that yeah, when it's yours, you're just so vested in it. You're just so like you do lose track of time. You can, like you said, do just these enormous shifts that are just like because you're not counting the hours, you're not thinking about so there's not really anybody looking after you in a way
Mhm.
that an employer needs to look after an employee, right? So I think it's just yeah, it's been a learning curve for me to just also within the business as the business has got a lot bigger and a lot busier, working out where is the best, like bang for buck for me to do. Like
Yeah.
what's the most effective way for me to use my time within the business? It's not necessarily in the same things that it was when we were building
Yeah.
up, like where I had to get my hands dirty everywhere. And it's not, I kind of like had this thing where I said to a friend, I was like, because I was there, like in the trenches, doing the dishes, doing everything I used to. And she was like, because I would feel guilty if I wasn't in the trenches with the team all the time, like that
Mm.
I could see that I was there with them doing the things they do. But then I was so burnt out to do my own sort of bigger strategic future work that would actually bring in the guests the
Mm.
next 6. So sort of like I had to take a step back and go, Claire, I know, like that's what you've always done, but let's think strategically. If you're actually advising yourself,
Mm.
you wouldn't be telling yourself to do any of this. You would be saying, Claire, your talents are best utilized in these more macro areas.
Yeah.
And to think of the ideas, to put the concepts together, and then is there someone who can do all those little things that I know you can do? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I've actually got that as my because I was just, oh, I can do that. I can do that.
Yeah.
I can develop a website. I can code it. I can like
So
crazy stuff.
I love that. I love that phrase. That might find its way into one of my workshops, Claire. But I'll make sure
Oh,
I give you copyright.
oh, can you just quote a quote? Just because
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So, do you have a final question for Claire? Is there one final thing before we wrap up? This has been great. We could keep on going, but is there one final question that you've got?
been it's been a masterclass in brand
Mm.
strategy, which is perfect. And I think there's a lot of people that could listen into this to understand the sort of approach that you've taken. But if there was one thing that you would do differently, what would you change?
One thing that I would do differently, and what would I change? Oh, like that question always runs against how my philosophy in life works. But yeah, I've thought of one. I've thought of one because I try
Okay,
not
good.
to like I don't work on like regrets or like, there's always reasons for things. But I will say, quoting somebody else. So at when I started, I hadn't worked to this level in customer service, especially with a brand of my own. And so Brene Brown always would say, if once you build a brand and open your business, you're in the arena. Have you heard that thing about the arena?
Mm.
Okay, so she talks about, so I was really struggling for a while because you open yourself to Google reviews, a lot of feedback, a lot of criticism, lots of positives, lots of
Mm.
accolades, lots of what, that's what everybody sees, right? But at the same time, there's, as I would say, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on your podcast, but there is the 1 to 2% asshole factor in customer service. It's a well-known insider fact.
Yeah.
98% of guests are incredible. We love them. They're wonderful. But there is the 1 to 2% that you like, yeah. They're just not happy people, mostly in their own lives, right?
Yeah.
I used to take a lot of that on personally. And I used to take it, I used to go home, I'd have sleepless nights over what they said. I would
Wow.
want to defend myself. I would go to town on myself about it. And it was impacting me. And so yeah, Brene Brown, I listened to a podcast on her and she said she imagined a coliseum and she goes, there's people that are sitting in the stands and there's people that are on the arena. You're on the arena, Claire. And if you are taking any kind of criticism on board or listening to opinions, it should only be from the people that are also on the arena,
Mm.
not the people in the stands.
Yeah.
The people in the stands can say all they want and yell all they want at you, but until they have stood in that arena,
Mm.
you choose what levity and how much weight you're giving to them. And you need to analyze who you're giving weight to in your head in terms of opinions. And so
Mm.
that was really pivotal for me because I sort of, if I had my time again, I would be more discriminating about
Mhm.
whose opinions that I really listened to,
Mhm.
took on, and which ones were really just the chatter from the stands. And so
Cool.
there are incredible mentors and incredible people that you can get incredible advice on. And it's not as though we don't do things that can be improved,
Mhm.
but just who is it who's talking to you? What is their experience? And where are they coming from? It's always going
Love
through
it.
my head.
Love it, love it. A great insight. So Claire, thank you very much for joining us today. Sue, what has Claire got you thinking about? I mean, it's got me thinking about lots of things, but there's a one thing that particularly resonated with you in terms of the discussion today.
Oh, absolutely. Tons of things, Damien, but probably it comes back to that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I
Mm,
think that's a great philosophy for business, for life, for everything.
yeah.
And sometimes you just got to remind yourself that it's sometimes you're going to step into the ring and sometimes you step out of the
Yeah.
arena. Just as much as stepping into the arena is
Yeah.
important, but sometimes stepping out of the arena and going, not my show today.
Mm.
Yeah.
Love it, love it. Claire, thank you so much for joining us. But before we let you go, Lon Retreat, if we've got people excited, Sue's, I know what she's going to be doing as soon as we hang up. Where do they learn more about Lon Retreat?
Yeah, so a couple of places. Website www.lonretreat.com.au.
Yeah.
That has all our spa menus, accommodation, all the beautiful pictures I've spoken about, and online bookings. And also, if you're on Instagram, just look
Mhm.
Lon Lon Retreat, and you'll spot us there and all my little daily postings. Enjoy.
Awesome. Terrific. Claire, thank you so much once again. Sue, thank you very much. Sue and I look forward to our next episode of On My Couch. In the meantime, if you want to learn more about OMC Group, our website is omc-group.com.au. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Claire.
Thanks,
Pleasure.
Damien. Thanks,
Thank you so
Claire.
much. See you soon. Bye.